When Hind got married, her mother warned me with a serious and fearful tone. Don't anger or sadden her for any reason. She is not like any other girl. Naturally, I took this advice as just another typical warning from a mother to her daughter's husband and didn't think much of it. We lived 3 years of ordinary married life until that fateful night. What started as a simple discussion between Hind and me escalated into a heated argument. I made a mistake and left angrily without apologizing. Little did I know that this moment would mark the beginning of a series of strange events. The next day, I began to notice Hind's unusual behavior. When I came home in the evening, she was sitting in the corner of the kitchen, staring at the ceiling with a vacant look. For the first time, I noticed that her long black hair reached down past her knees and seemed to shine unnaturally in the dim light. I tried to talk to her, but she didn't respond. She just continued to stare blankly as if she was seeing something I couldn't. As days went by, her behavior became increasingly strange. Sometimes she would stare at me in a frightening way. At other times, I'd leave her in the living room and go to the bathroom, only to turn around and find her standing silently behind me, staring with that unsettling gaze. The situation reached its peak one night when I woke up at 2 a.m. from thirst. As I entered the kitchen to get some water, I was shocked by a sight that almost made my heart stop. Hind was standing against the wall on all fours like a spider. She was staring at me with an empty, terrifying look. I felt like I was in a nightmare, but the pain in my chest confirmed that I was awake. At that moment, I could bear it no longer. I got out of bed trembling and walked past her as she stared at me with that horrifying look. I picked up the phone with my shaking hand and immediately called her mother. When I told her what was happening, she interrupted me. Didn't I tell you not to anger or sadden her ever? I responded in confusion. How did you know about our problem? Her mother replied in a low, chilling voice. Your wife has been with me for 2 days. Why haven't you come to reconcile with her? I froze, unable to believe what I was hearing. If Hind was with her mother, then who was the one in my house? I looked at Hind, who was now standing in the middle of the room, and remembered the warning. Her face began to change slowly, taking on a demonic expression. I realized then that I was facing an inexplicable force. Slowly, Hind began to approach me. Her wide eyes shone with madness, and her long hair swayed around her as if it had a life of its own. I tried to back away, but my legs wouldn't respond. I felt as if I were nailed in place. The closer she got, the heavier the air around me became, as if she were draining the life from the room. When Hind reached a close distance, she suddenly stopped. She touched my face with her cold hand and said in a voice that wasn't hers, I warned you. At that moment, I felt an intense cold engulf my body and collapsed to the ground unconscious.